to tell about when he was in the Navy. How old were you when you went into the Navy?
I went into the Navy, I was 18 years of age.
Why did you enlist in the Navy when you were young?
Well, the war had just started, and I thought I was going to be a hero, so I decided to join the Navy because I didn't want to wait and then maybe become drafted in the Army.
What branch of the Navy were you in?
After going to the boot camp or the training camp, I was then sent to the Armed Guard Center in Brooklyn. And the Armed Guard were the guys that manned the guns on the merchant ships. We were part of the Navy, and we traveled on all kinds of merchant ships.
How many ships were you on, and what kind of ships were they?
Well, I was on 5 different ships. One was a tanker, and I don't know if these pictures will show, but the first one I was on was the Gulf of Maracaibo. And the second one I was on was the Winifred L. Smith. And Gulf of Maracaibo, in the first place, is a tanker. And the Winifred L. Smith, which was a cargo vessel, and here we carried drums of high-octane gasoline and other supplies to the troops in North Africa. And the last ship I was on was the Sequoia, and this was a combination cargo ship and troop carrier. Okay?
What did they do to you when your ship crossed the equator the first time?
Well, when you go to cross the equator, when you're in the Navy and you cross the equator, you become from a polywog to a shellback. And when you do this, they give you some sort of an initiation in which they paddle your butt, and they put you in a chair. You're all blindfolded all this time. They put you in a chair, and it's up off the deck, and they'll flip you over backwards, and you fall into a big tank of water. You feel like you're going overboard. They make you eat some concoction that they made up that didn't taste very good, and they also shaved your hair like with an Indian cut. They would cut it down on either sides and just have a little bit in the center.
Did you ever travel through the Panama Canal?
Yes, I went through the canal 5 times. The first 2 times I was on the tanker, and the last 3 times I was on the cargo ship.
How did it feel having planes shoot at you?
Well, I don't know how to express how you felt. You were afraid or scared because you were hoping that the helmet that you wore, and you wore a life vest, and the protection of the armament around the gun, you hoped that was enough to protect you, that somebody didn't hit you with a bullet.
Did you get much sleep, and were the beds hard?
No, I didn't think the beds were hard. They were, well, you actually used the mattress that they gave you when you joined the Navy. Because when I joined the Navy, they gave you a hammock and a mattress and a sea bag, and they put all your clothes in the sea bag, and you put your mattress in the hammock, and you would roll it up. You'd roll the hammock up and tie it, then you'd put the sea bag in the center, and you'd pull both ends up, and you'd tie it together, and that's the way you carried your bedding and your clothes. And you'd use that mattress on the bunks they gave you, which was, well, it wasn't an inner-spring mattress, and it was like a board, you know, and the springs were like a board.
Did you get much sleep?
It all depends. if you normally stood watch on the ship at your gun station, and that would be for 4 hours, and then you would have 8 hours off, in which time during that 8 hours, that's when you ate your food, you did your washing, you took showers, you maybe played cards, and you also slept. After that 8 hours was over, then you stood another 4 hours on watch again on your gun station, and then you'd have 8 hours off again. And you did this for 24 hours around the clock. The only time it was different was when you were in the war zone, and at that time, if you were under attack, you were not allowed to leave your gun station. If there was a chance that there was going to be an attack, you may stand 1 hour on, and then you'd have 1 hour off, and 1 hour on, and 1 hour off. You didn't get any sleep when that happened.
Did you get much to eat?
Yeah, we got normal food. We never ran out of food. The only time that it became tough to get a lot of food to eat is when the seas were rough and the ship was rocking, then they'd only give you sandwiches.
Did you wear a bulletproof vest?
There was no such thing as a bulletproof vest, but at that time, during the Second World War.
Did any bullets get a yard or closer to you?
I don't know if they came within a yard. There may have been 4 or 5 yards, but we had them go across the deck of the ship when one of the dive bombers came trying to shoot us. And as it dove, it dropped bombs on either side of the ship within about 25 yards, and the concussion when the bombs went off was such that the whole ship would rock.
Did a lot of people die on your ship?
No, nobody died on my ship.
Did your ship almost sink?
No.
Did you shoot a lot of planes?
Yes, we shot down 2 in the Mediterranean, and that was in 1943. And in 1945, when we were at Okinawa, we shot down 2 more planes. The first 2 we shot down were German planes, and the last 2 that we shot down were Japanese planes, because we were still at war with Japan.
Did you ever run out of bullets?
No, we didn't run out of bullets because you had what they called a ready box, in which you had extra canisters of bullets in which you would put into the gun. And I have a picture here showing a 20 millimeter, and what I mean is this upper part here was where the bullets were. On this, see this part right here. See it? And what you did was you had a magazine with you had 60 of those, and you just put them on.
How many hours were you on duty every day?
Well, like I explained before, we were on duty for normally 8 hours a day, and 16 hours a day you were not on duty.
Do you remember who the captains were on your ship?
No, because we were in the naval, we were in the gun crew part of it. We never came in contact with the captain. The captain always talked to the officer in charge of the gun crew, and the officer in charge then would talk to me, because I was the head non-commissioned officer of the gun crew. And then we would assign duties accordingly.
What battles were you in?
Well, I was in what we call the Battle of North Atlantic, and that's when we were carrying all kinds of war supplies to Great Britain, getting ready for the invasion of Europe. We carried planes, I carried landing craft on a couple of the ships, We carried all kinds of other Army supplies. We were in the Battle of the Mediterranean, and in that case we were carrying high-octane aviation gasoline in the ship, and also supplies for the troops that were fighting in North Africa. On the first ship, the tanker that I was on, we were in the South Pacific, near the Coral Sea, in which we supplied oil to some of the ships, naval ships that needed it. I was also in the Battle of Okinawa, in which you're probably familiar with the kamikaze planes that the Japanese had, and what these were young men from Japan who dedicated their life to the emperor, were actually sitting on a bomb, and what they would do is dive right into a ship. That was their aim, to dive into the ship to sink them and blow themselves up and all the people on the ship if they could.
How many years did the war last?
Well, the war lasted 3 years and 9 months.
How many years were you in the service?
I was in the service for 3 years and 6 months.
Were you happy to get out of the service?
I sure was.
How many medals did you get? What were they for?
Well, I got 5, and I have a picture showing here. And they put it in front of me. I can't. And this one on this side is the Mediterranean and European medal. This is the American Theater of Operation medal. This one here is the Pacific and Asian medal. This one here was the Victory medal for when the war was over. This here was the Good Conduct medal. And if you'll notice on the bars here, I have 2 battle stars here for the European and Mediterranean area, and I have 2 battle stars here for the Pacific and Asian conflicts. This here is a letter of accommodation that we received for shooting down 2 of the planes in the Mediterranean. This here was my dog tag.
What did you do when you got out of the service?
Well, before we get to that, just one thing I forgot to mention once before. You asked me about when we crossed the equator, and I just wanted, maybe you'd be interested, but this is the sort of certificate that they give you when you cross the equator. And here it states on here that you became, from a polywog, you became a shellback, and everybody that crosses the equator gets something like this. What did I do after I got out of the service? That was the last question, or the last question? Well, after I got out of the service, I came to Bethlehem, because I originally came from Derry, New Hampshire. But I came to Bethlehem, and I met your grandmother, who I had known through the years, through the war. And we got married, and then I went to finish school, because I never finished high school. And I went to Moravian Preparatory School. From there I went to Moravian College, and after that I went to work at the Bethlehem Steel Company in the research department. And you wouldn't be here if I hadn't have met your grandmother when I came back out of the war.
Thank you.
Okay.
And a month for 39 months.
It happened live on Day and Date.
Spontaneous TV. Oprah's ban on burgers has cattle raisers ready to lower the boom.
It's a day her dad, baseball great Rod Carew, prayed would never come.
She just ran out of time.
Give us 1 hour.
And we'll give you a day and date to remember.
Tomorrow.
Go ahead.
This is a picture of my grandfather when he was in the Navy.